Welcome to Green Valley online classes. Dear students, we have already discussed this poem. We are on literature class. We have already had an introduction to this poem by William Butler Yeats, A Prayer for My Daughter. So let's begin with it. Let's have a recapitulation of the first 5 octaves of the poem. We have to remember that this poem, A Prayer for My Daughter, we have to remember that this poem, A Prayer for My Daughter, was written in 1919 by William Butler Yeats, when it was the time of the Anglo-Irish War. So it was a wartime situation when the poet William Butler Yeats wrote the poem, A Prayer for My Daughter. Yes, you hear it correct, A Prayer for My Daughter. So this poem is entirely focused on the poet's desire, his wishes, his hopes for his daughter, who is just probably 2 or 3 days old baby girl, of a female child of William Butler Yeats. So the poem begins with the image of a sleeping child, and the poem also begins with the image of the storm, which is howling. So simile is being used. Once more, the storm is howling. So the poem begins with the image of the storm, which is an idea of the poet's anxiety, poet's troubles, poet's worry about his baby child who is sleeping in the cradle. So the poem begins with this image of the storm and the image of the child sleeping, and the idea is that the poet's worry, the poet's anxiety about 2 important things. Number one, that the poet's child, which is a baby girl, she is sleeping in the cradle, and she is the symbol of innocence. This has to be remembered. She is the symbol of innocence, and there is a storm. Probably the storm is symbolic of a physical storm, or it is kind of a political turbulence. So the situation, or the kind of a situation that the poet finds himself in, is that it's a warlike situation, and he's worrying about his daughter and the things that might happen to her if things continue to turn topsy-turvy, if things continue to turn turbulent, if the war continues to exist, then it's definitely going to affect not only the poet but the future. I think the poet's child, baby girl, is also a symbol of future. Probably the poet is worried about, anxious about the future of the world. So I read the lines. Once more the storm is howling, and half hid under this cradle hood, and cover it, my child sleeps on, there is no obstacle. Probably the poet feels that there is no protection, there's nothing that can save the world from the troubles that either the baby girl is going to face. And the only thing is that he's talking about the Gregory Woods, the physical obstacles, or there may be certain things that it is possible. The idea is that it is possible that there may be certain physical obstructions, physical protections, if it is a natural calamity, if it is a storm-like situation, natural storm, but there is no protection if it is a war-like situation. Now we move to the next stanza, the next octave of the poem, which is wherein we already know that the poet is very anxious about his daughter and the future of the world. So the next stanza, the next octave, he talks about the fact that he had walked he had walked and prayed for this young child for an hour. So the poet's anxiety, he has been toing and froing. He has been, very worried about his daughter. And under the sea wind scream upon the tower, and under the arcs of the bridge and scream in the elms above the flooded stream. Flooded stream is symbolic of the great anxiety, the great, worry that the poet is facing. So it is symbolic of the overwhelming, what you call, anxiety of the poet. And imagining in excited reverie that the future years had come, dancing to the frenzied drum out of the murderous incense of the sea. So the poet is simply worried about the future well-being of his daughter, and he probably feels that right now that innocent sea which shows its innocence may turn horrible in future. Probably the kind of feeling that a war may bring everlasting destruction, and उसके दायरे में शायद उसकी बेटी भी आ जाएगी. So शायर की एक तमन्ना है कि उसकी बेटी मुसीबतों से, परेशानियों से बच जाए. तो ये जो वॉर-लाइक सिचुएशन उस वक्त थी, एंग्लो आयरिश वॉर जो था, उसकी वजह से जो ये फीलिंग्स शायर में आ गई है उसकी बेटी के लिए, and that's what makes him write this poetry. In the third stanza, the poet directly, expresses his desire. May she be granted beauty, and not beauty to make a stranger's eye distraught. So the poet wants for his daughter that she should be bestowed with beauty. Beauty of heart and probably physical beauty as well. But he also wishes for his daughter that this kind of a beauty should not make the stranger's eyes distraught. Like, it should not make the strangers feel wild and excited, because that will prove a danger, or that will prove a trouble for his daughter, and this is what he doesn't want. And he also doesn't want his child to be as beautiful as to be able to always, praise her own beauty. He should not fall prey to being, excessively proud about her own beauty, and consider beauty, consider beauty a sufficient end. And this way, if that happens, if she turns what you call arrogant or haughty, and that way she will lose natural kindness, and maybe she will lose natural kindness because pride or feeling excessively proud about one's beauty might cause loss of natural kindness, and this is what the poet does not want her daughter to fall into. So this is again we come back to the title part of the poem, A Prayer for My Daughter. In the fourth octave, the poet gives a passing reference, of Helen. Helen being chosen for found life flat and dull. So a passing, we call it allusion. A-L-L-U-S-I-O-N. This is an allusion. A-L-L-U-S-I-O-N. This is a poetic technique, a passing reference of some figure in the past or from the Greek mythology. So it is a passing reference of the Greek mythology, Helen. The idea about Helen being beautiful, chosen for beauty, and how her own beauty proved a trouble for Helen. Helen being chosen found life flat and dull, and how she felt that she could feel that her life was flat and dull, it was not exciting, and then ultimately she eloped with the Prince of Troy. So that caused all the trouble, the war, the idea that you already have, and later had much trouble from a fool with whom she eloped. While that great queen that rose out of the spray, being fatherless, could have her way, yet chose a brand-elect smith for a man. So she had married a man who was comparatively not of her age, and that had caused all the trouble, and she had found life dull. So it's certain that fine women. So the poet, since this poem is a prayer for the William Butler Yeats' daughter, he doesn't want his daughter to be crazy. He wants her to be beautiful, but not as beautiful as to make the stranger's eye distraught. But at the same time, he believes, William Butler Yeats believes that probably there are some beautiful women who seem to take some crazy salad with their meals, and that makes them, make blunders. They make big mistakes in their life, and that's how that's why there's a passing reference, that allusion to what you call Helen. So he doesn't want his daughter, he wants his daughter to be beautiful, to be bestowed with beauty, but not the beauty like that of Helen that proved destructive for Helen herself. Okay, and this makes the poet feel that some women, some beautiful women, seem to take some crazy salad with their meals, which makes them commit blunders in life. So that's why, that's why, and that's how we can say that William Butler Yeats doesn't want his daughter to fall prey to arrogance. He wants her to be beautiful. He wants her to be bestowed with all kinds of goodness of heart, but he doesn't want her to fall trapped, to fall a victim to the kind of evils that are there with women, like a passing reference to Helen being beautiful. And then another thing is, it's certain that fine women eat some crazy salad with their meals, whereby this is a beautiful line where we have another allusion. We have another allusion, passing the reference of Zeus, Z-E-U-S, which is believed, according to Greek mythology, god of sky. So this kind of a god of sky, a reference to symbolic of, or reference to abundance, something in great amount, something in large amount. So they are, they eat a crazy salad with their meals, and thereby they lose their senses. Then ultimately they make blunders, and all that they have, all the blessings, the reference, horn of plenty, all that they have in abundance, goodness of heart, love, kindness, they lose that all. And this is what is the idea here. And this gives us an opportunity to leap into the fifth octave of this poem. In courtesy, I would have her chiefly learned. So the poet wants her daughter. The poet wants her daughter to be courteous, to be having a lot of civility, a lot of good manners. In courtesy, I would have her chiefly learned. He wants her to be polite and have all the good manners. Hearts are not had as gifts, but hearts are earned. So the poet's idea that she cannot earn good hearts. Well, this gives us an opportunity to leap into the last octave of today's class, the fifth one, in fact the fifth octave of this poem. We already know that it is a prayer for my daughter. William Butler Yeats hopes and wishes a lot for his daughter. And in this octave, or this stanza, he wants his daughter to be full of civility, full of goodness of heart, to be full of good manners. In courtesy, I would have her chiefly learned. So here we go. In courtesy, I would have her chiefly learned. So he would want his daughter to have all good manners, because he believes that hearts are earned. The hearts of good people have to be earned. You cannot get good people or the love of good people as a gift. Hearts are not had as gifts, but the hearts have to be earned by those that are not entirely beautiful. Yet many that have played the fool. There are foolish people who feel that yes, they always follow beauty. They are always after beauty, but they become fools. They become fools in their life, for beauty's very self has charmed, made them wise. And many a poor man that has rowed, loved, and thought himself beloved, from a glad kindness cannot take his eyes. So the simple idea is that the poet wants his daughter to be full of good manners, so that she earns the love of sensible and good-hearted, kind-hearted men, and she should have good friends and good people around her.
The eighth stanza of the poem, Prayer for My Daughter. We know that this poem is by William Butler Yeats, and the poet prays for his daughter. And in eighth stanza, he says, an intellectual hatred is the worst. And intellectual hatred is a reference to being proud. The poet doesn't want his daughter to be proud. He doesn't want her to consider herself as superior, or he doesn't want his daughter to hold herself in high opinion. So, an intellectual hatred, according to William Butler Yeats, for his daughter is the worst. So let her think opinions are accursed. She should not be opinionated, judgmental. She should not be proud about her qualities. She should be submissive. She should be down to earth. These are the qualities that William Butler Yeats wants that his daughter should be bestowed with. Have I not seen the loveliest women born? It is again an allusion, a passing reference to Maud his beloved. According to William Butler Yeats, Maud was all, full of the natural beauty. She had all things that nature had bestowed her. What she chose to be a Republican Army member. So, and she did not think about what nature had bestowed her with. So the poet says, "Have I not seen the loveliest women born out of the mouth of plenty's horn?" They had a lot in abundance. Nature had given them a lot. Because of her opinionated mind, because of being judgmental, she chose to be something different in life. She didn't want to live and enjoy life as a woman with all the bounties and beauty. Because of her opinionated mind, barter. She did a bad business. Barter is a reference to doing a bad business. Barter, that horn. She did a bad business. She sacrificed all that nature had bestowed her with, and every good. By quiet natures understood. Whatever nature had bestowed upon her, she did not do justice to that. Okay? That nature and the nature had given her invaluable, qualities. But for an old bellows full of angry wind. So all she chose, the reference, as you know, is um, the passing reference in these lines are about Maud. So Maud married the chief of the staff of IRA, Irish Republican Army, John MacBride. So she chose to marry John MacBride, and she chose to be one of the members of the IRA. She did not choose to be a woman and continue to live. And even we know that she had not responded to Yeats' love. So she chose a different path in life. And according to William Butler Yeats, for an old bellows full of angry wind. So that probably an idea is that she was full of that passion for fighting. And so was the case with John MacBride, that she chose as a husband. That's it. This was stanza 8. In the next video, we are going to take up stanza 9, and then ultimately we land into stanza 10. Thank you so much. Good luck. Welcome back to the literature class, students of poetry. We are discussing William Butler Yeats' poem A Prayer for My Daughter, and we are intending to discuss stanza 9, octave 9 of this piece of poetry. It starts with considering that all hatred-driven hands, the soul recovers radical innocence. We know that the poem is a prayer for the poet's daughter. And the poet wants his daughter to acquire certain traits with the help of which the poet's daughter shall attain that maturity, shall attain that innocence, shall attain the status of being an ideal woman. Considering that all hatred-driven hands, once the hatred is driven off from the mind, from the soul of the poet's daughter, it opens the gateways for the innocence, that absolute radical innocence, to creep in. The soul recovers radical innocence and learns at last that it is self-delighting. So if that happens, it brings peace of mind, it brings pleasure, it brings maturity, and learns at last that it is self-delighting, self-appeasing, and self-affrighting. So in that case scenario, if a woman acquires that state where she is all out of what you call hatred, she attains that stage where she is afraid of none but herself, and that its own sweet will is heaven's will, and what she chooses for herself seems to be divine, probably having chosen from God himself. So she's surrounded with all bounties and beauty and innocence of nature. She can, then she can, though every face should scowl. And there the poet says she actually is a reference to an ideal woman. A reference to an ideal woman. She can, though every face should scowl, even if she faces horrible situations in life, she faces the disgusting attitude of the people around, she's not the least ruffled, she's not the least disturbed. And every windy, you can underline this phrase, windy quarter howl, reference to the storms of misfortune. Like when a person, especially a woman, if she faces a misfortune, she is broken. But if she's, innocent, if all innocence has crept in her psychology, and if all hatred is driven off, she can face every disturbing and distressing situation, and every windy quarter howl, oh, every bellows burst. Even the poet says that even if there's a war-like situation where it's distress all around, she can face that situation and continue to be happy. And that's it. This is where stanza 9 ends. We are going to leap into the stanza 10 in the next video. Thank you so much and good luck. Welcome back to the literature class, dear students. We are discussing the poem A Prayer for My Daughter by William Butler Yeats. We know that the poem demonstrates the poet's concern and deep anxiety over the future well-being of his daughter. So the poet is very concerned about the future well-being of his daughter. So he prays certain things about his daughter and wishes her to be an excellent woman in the world. The poet says that he has been walking and praying for his daughter in the very first few lines, in the first two stanzas, the octaves. Remember that this poem has 80 lines and it is divided into 10 octaves. An octave is an 8-line stanza in poetry. So the poet says, I have walked and prayed for my daughter, and then he moves on, says that he hopes and wishes her daughter that she should be bestowed, she should be given beauty. but not beauty as to distort a stranger's eye. And moving on, he wishes a lot of things for his daughter. He says that she should become a flourishing hidden tree. And then he talks about certain other qualities that he wishes his daughter should be bestowed with. He also talks about civility, good manners, the kindness. Specifically, he talks about beauty and other, human qualities that he, wishes his daughter should possess. And the last octave, the last stanza of the poem, which is what we intend to, complete or finish in this video. May her bridegroom bring her to home, where all is accustomed, ceremonious. So the poet wishes that his daughter should be married to a man whose home or whose house she shall enlighten with all her beauty, with all her good manners, with all her civility, and may her bridegroom bring her to a home, and may she be married to a man whose home she shall enlighten with all her achievements, with all her goodness, with all her exuberance, with all the qualities that over the years she must have developed, where all is accustomed and ceremonious. And he wishes that his daughter shouldn't have to struggle to fit in that family fabric. She should have qualities enough to be, bestowed with that goodness of heart and that beauty, that the qualities that she should possess, which shall help her to fit in very well in the, scheme of things. For arrogance and hatred are the wares peddled in the thoroughfares. A beautiful expression. For arrogance and hatred are the wares. The poet believes that arrogance and hatred are the characteristics of common folks. It's a roadside attitude. He believes that his daughter should possess the qualities that would make her different. For arrogance, he believes she should be free from arrogance, free from hatred, because he says that they are the wares, they are the qualities that are very common in everyday life, at the roadside, people coming up the town and going down, and developing the qualities of what you call arrogance and hatred. He wishes that his daughter should be free from that. But how in custom and in ceremony? The poet emphasizes upon the fact that it's a great thing to be deep-rooted in one's culture and to have religious devotion. That's what he says. How but in custom and in ceremony are innocence and beauty born. He says that if you are deep-rooted in your customs and cultural life, and if you have religious devotion, you are full of innocence and beauty. Because he says, Yeats believes that beauty lies in the adherence to religious laws. Beauty lies in following culture. And the last two lines of this poetry, emphasizes on the same thing. The poet wishes his daughter to be deep-rooted in his religion. Ceremony is the name for the rich horn. William Butler Yeats wants the kind of a life for his daughter, wherein he believes that if she adheres to religious laws and follows the culture and the customs that she has been living through, she will be one among the aristocratic. So he believes that this is aristocracy. If you are free from hatred, you are free from arrogance, you are a selected lot, you are you are someone different, you are someone special. Ceremony is a name for the rich horn. So these things, cultural values, deep-rooted in cultural ways and customs, and following that, having that deep devotion in religion makes you one among the folks who are highly intellectual. And custom for the spreading laurel tree. This is the last line of the poem. And custom for the spreading laurel tree. The poet actually wishes, in simple words, he wishes his daughter to be deep rooted in much the similar way in which is the case with the laurel tree. So he wishes her to be rich in culture and in religious devotion, like a laurel tree, deep rooted at its birthplace. So this is how the poem ends. I wish you all good luck for your examination. Have a nice day.